Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Laura Skinner, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind successful startups, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future expansion. Today, we're excited to have Scott, the founder of Shareapy. Scott will be sharing more about his founding story and, of course, giving us a glimpse into their plans for future growth. So let's jump right in, Scott, and welcome to Founders Future.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks for having me on.
You're so welcome. So take us back to the beginning. Firstly, would love to understand what inspired you to start. And of course, for our listeners, what does it solve within the marketplace?
And I can go to a couple direct events. So I had,
Lovely.
after after I graduated college, I was fortunate to be able to go and continue my love for hockey and play professionally for 5 or 6 years, and then that transition out of playing sports um, at the time seemed relatively easy, and put together a good career. Got a job. Moved up to the Princeton, New Jersey area, got a job, and that was in 1998, and that went quite well. At least it seemed at the time, without too many, definitely challenging, but it's something that, I worked hard at and built a pretty good career. So, fast forward, almost 20 years of being in the sales environment. I like to say relationships versus sales because I believe everything boils down to relationships. Put together a pretty good career in that. And just about 7 years ago, actually 7 years ago and a week or two, um, I was living in Princeton. My wife was pregnant with our now 6-year-old son. Our daughter
Oh,
was 3. And I fell downstairs at my house, suffered a traumatic brain injury, nearly lost my life if I hadn't been found in time. But that really started the healing journey for me. Having had several brain injuries, concussions throughout my life. And then that I essentially was scared, like what's the next chapter? So yeah, I had a nice paying job, and I had a great house, and I had a beautiful family. But I realized as I started to best practices to recover from a brain injury are a little bit of isolation, right? Like no stress from work, no light, all these things that help my brain recover. But that really gave me the opportunity to do a little bit of a deep dive in terms of what just happened, and to start like working on myself, not only from the brain injury, but some other things that I hadn't addressed for the previous 2 decades. I'll rewind a little bit. In the middle of my playing career professionally, I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression, something
yeah,
that I really didn't manage properly for a lot of years. But now looking back at it, and during this time of self-discovery, it was, it might have been stigma against, a diagnosis of mental health. It may have been, hey, I'm a hockey player. Like, how could I be suffering from this? I just didn't manage it properly. So that was one of the things I needed to start addressing. So with the brain injury and with my prompt to actually start addressing my mental health, mental health and wellness appropriately, I started to do some outreach. So I started to speak with friends that were heavily involved in the mental health and wellness community, started speaking with them. I started speaking with a few folks that were introduced to me that had traumatic brain injuries. And every time I met with them and they shared their story, I felt uh, much, a little bit more at ease, right? That I had somebody that had been through something similar. And through some support and other peer systems that I joined at the time, I just realized that there's tremendous benefit in going through life's challenges with others who've been through them, right? I didn't sit and Google, how do you recover from a traumatic brain injury, or, should I be on this medicine? Should I be talking to people? I just
100%.
purely was fortunate enough to be introduced to people that had a similar story. And every time they
100%.
shared the story, it was therapeutic. It helped me. And I kept hearing back from them how beneficial it was from them, or to them, sorry. So I figured, why isn't there, you know, place, we're littered with a lot of different ways to connect on social media and just in general, but I just sense that there was the opportunity to be able to share my story and others to share theirs. And could we create something where we could increase my capacity to be of service to others and share my story? And that's where the idea of Shareapy was born. And that was roughly 5.5, 6 years ago. We kicked it around with some friends who understood what I was going through. And, we started modeling out what it would look like. And that was the start of the journey.
Can't quite believe everything you've gone through. Firstly, thank you so much for being so open and transparent about it, because can't even compare how hard that must have been, especially just like I can't even imagine those like following months, years, etc. when you've had such a normal life and then you're faced with such like that just must have been so hard. But awesome to like the fact that you've been speaking, sharing stories, and then from that, this has almost come like created from that to help, right? And to add value to people. And if people are finding that therapeutic and beneficial, because it's just so true, isn't it? It's just like if someone's been through grief, it's like grief. It's like so much easier to talk to someone that's lost a sister if you've lost a sister. And I can only imagine how amazing and beneficial that is. So, for a customer, what is the actual journey that they're going on? So, is this like an application? Is this like a platform? What does it look like? And how you actually like what does it offer essentially?
Yeah. So at its core, right, our core offering, which is, we've been fully functional for a while now, and we've hosted plenty of pilot slash beta groups, and there's been a tremendous amount of response and positivity to what we're doing. So from a member standpoint, obviously with anything, it's creating awareness so that we're out there, right? And we've grown, not at a crazy pace, but we've grown organically in terms of involving, friends, family, letting them know what we're doing, and then by word of mouth a little bit. So our core offering right now is a safe, secure space that we host on our platform, where we guide virtual facilitated peer support groups. And the core, what we call Shareapy Global, is pulling anybody in who understands the need and the importance of true connection, but also a place where they can, if they choose, share, what they're going through at that time in their life, right? And what we've seen, which is heartwarming to me, is that people start to understand when they take part in our get-togethers. That's what we call our meetings. Our get-togethers. When they take part in our get-togethers, they understand the importance of number one, just being there. Number two, the importance of actively listening, and then the importance of, the ability of how to share what's going on in their lives. And time again, we've seen people who, yeah, have come onto the platform, have joined, have, signed up for one of our numerous get-togethers on a weekly basis. Once they start to understand that it is a safe place, that we do have, privacy, and we set the room and set the space for people to be open and honest about what they're going through. It's amazing to see people on their journey open up and share things that they otherwise probably didn't feel like they could share, or they didn't have a place that they felt comfortable sharing in. So the initial offering, which is, there's a lot of things that come from that as we grow, is just a safe, secure place where people can go and they don't have to share. They can listen, they can think, and if they choose to, they can share.
And I'm just trying to look at it online now, just for the sake of the podcast. Is it like week? I think you said weekly calls. So you log onto the platform and then you log into a call, and then obviously like this, I get the whole call. That's insane, right? People being able to speak. It's private. It's intimate. It gives people that actual safe space, right? So is it that people just log on once a week, or is there other things on the platform?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah. So there's no, like, the way we have it set up is, we want to grow and scale, and we've added new get-togethers just recently, where we can provide more opportunities for people to plug into a get-together. And what we've seen from the experience is that, people need to understand and get more understanding when they actually log in, sign up, and attend one of our get-togethers. They're not restricted to just one a week. Like, we have it open that they can attend as many as they want. What
Wow.
we found, just like anything else, is the more you engage, the more you start to understand, and then ultimately you start to benefit from it. So we've had people who have joined that had really just an interest in what we're doing, that have not only joined but benefited, that are now going through, we have a facilitator certification program that they're now going through that so that they can, when they go through it, they can start being of service and start facilitating some get-togethers themselves. And the second part of your question, I believe, was, yeah, the next kind of offering is having content and having other maybe topic specific, get-togethers where people can dive further into either challenges they're going through, or even, just as important, challenges that they've went through that they haven't had a place to give back, be of service, to share those experiences with others. So
Listen,
at the end of the day, in the beginning, I felt that we as a society and as just a human race, we all go through a lot and we all have these experiences. And yes, there's a lot of different ways people can share them, write books, go on podcasts like this. But at the end of the day, we need to provide something, and it provided something where people can feel comfortable, safe to be able to open up and share what they've gone through, whether it's, work struggles, whether it's, transitioning out of a marriage, transitioning out of a job, transitioning out of the military, out of athletes.
yeah.
A lot of the stuff that we offer support in these specific type of, let's just say, communities within Shareapy will be related to, people going through life stage transitions. So they will be able to join those specific topics, and we'll have further content for our members to engage in.
I I love it. I think it's just I honestly it just is so good. So talk to me a little bit about, obviously you want to scale this because the more you scale it, the more people that you're helping. Is there a fulfillment cap on this in terms of like, are you wanting to keep these groups intimate? I know someone's leading them. So what does that look like in terms of, are you in a bit of a like chicken and egg situation where you want to scale as much as possible because you help as much people, but what about the fulfillment aspect?
Yeah, are you talking, is that what I'm understanding is, are there 1,000 people eventually on one of these, or is it capped to
Yeah, so
25?
like
Right. Yeah.
basically just do have you got a capacity issue? Basically, obviously this podcast is all about like go to market and scaling, etc. So like obviously if we scale Shareapy, that's great because it's going to hit so many more people. But then my question of that is like, is there a capacity on fulfillment? Would you just get more people in to lead these sessions, or what do you have for that when you've kind of got loads of people wanting to join essentially?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So that's why we've been very strategic in terms of go to market. Like we've just
Yeah.
been word of mouth, and we started as of last week, kind of a soft launch, to put the word out there in terms of what we're doing. And we're confident that we have the capacity to be able to run these get-togethers and run them at a point where, we understand kind of human dynamics, right? We've run several meetings. We've got several very qualified, educated people in this space that understand perhaps that having 100 people on an hour long, Zoom isn't the best optimal way
Of
to
course.
engage those people. So we've kind of set a soft cap in the get together style. Um, and we'll see how that goes, right? There's some people that might want a more, 6 to 8 people environment. And there's some people that,
Yeah.
benefit from, having more. So that's something in terms of as we're getting feedback from our current, members, and as we continue to get feedback from future members, that's something that will address both, not only in terms of do we need to have meetings that are higher in terms of attendance, and do we have to have some more that are, capped at a certain number. And I do think from some of the professionals and highly educated people that are going to start running some of these specialized groups, we let them and that have done them before on a smaller scale, that they know what works, and they're able to, cap out their specific get-togethers. So we do have a facilitator program. We will start, it's out there for people. There are people that are finding out about it. There are people going through it. We do have a pretty solid plan together in terms of, not only being able to add people, certify them, and then look to their availability in terms of hosting additional get-togethers. And I think, we'll not only look at our analytics on the back end in terms of seeing what's working for people, but I think in my experience over 10, 15 years of, other peer support, meetings and other just general business type meetings, I think we've got a fairly good grasp on it, but we also we'll learn as we go in a
100%.
good strategic way. So yeah, we
Love
do
it.
have the capacity to scale, and we haven't gone wide in terms of saying, hey, just sign up and attend all these different topics. Like we
Yeah.
will build communities and specific offerings once we have people that are already engaged in that specific, community slash population slash, wellness resource to be able to grow around them.
I love it. I love it so much. This is just world class. So, talk to us a little bit about what your next go-to-market top priorities are. Is it just a case of let's get this out to as many people as possible and really start scaling this, or is this like a real strategic approach behind it? I'd love to understand like what the next couple of months look like when you're looking at kind of getting this out there.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's on the more strategic, right? With a little bit of um, getting it out, just getting it out there in terms of that we exist, right? You know, um, and I'm not a data scientist, but we do have people that have, scaled subscription-based, membership-based companies on that are working with us to be able to know that, hey, if we send out a blast and it reaches, 1,000 people, there's probably going to be X amount that are actually going to open it. There's going to be Y amount that are engaged. So there's a little bit of it's definitely strategic. We're just not trying to throw out a million different style of groups for different type of communities, whether that be new moms, whether that be, grief. I mean, those are all in discussion, but we really are doing it strategically where we can, um, scale nicely, but also on the, like you had said, blast it out to a lot of people. I think we do need to create the awareness that Shareapy does exist,
Of course.
right?
A nice
Because
balance.
that funnel, like, and I know you guys work on these day to day, that funnel, needs to be wider at the top to capture more people and help more people at the bottom.
100% is so, so, so true. So, in terms of the sales process side, so obviously the acquisition is quite clear in terms of you're growing organically through friends and family at the minute and word of mouth. You want to leverage a strategic go-to-market approach, but also balance that with building your brand awareness as quickly as possible. But when you actually have people come to the website or when you have people that want to sign up, what does the actual sales process look like? Can they just subscribe on the website or do they need to speak to someone?
No, good question. Yeah, they can subscribe on the website, right? And then we have, that life of a member kind of mapped out, right? So our platform allows them to sign up. They get an indication like anything else in terms of what it involves, in terms of what, signing up, the benefits of signing up in terms of the ability to jump into, numerous get-togethers, right? The ability to have a platform that's growing in its resources. So that's fairly seamless in terms of that. And then it's on our end, which we've worked on it, we've implemented and we will learn from, obviously as we grow at a greater scale, all those little touch points, right? We don't want to inundate people with emails and messages and such, but we want to be very strategic about providing them with as much as possible in terms of what we're doing, how we're doing it to engage them sooner than later in some of these get-togethers. Because what we've seen over the last year and a half is when people engage, they stay engaged. And the biggest part of and why the biggest when people have come on and engaged and have benefited from it, and have dropped off, it's not because they haven't valued it. It's because their schedules have changed and they're, whether it's getting kids to school in the morning and they just can't make a certain meeting. So we've opened up another 7, different times and dates, meetings that get-togethers as of last week. And we'll start populating those. We're going to current members and saying, hey, we notice you haven't been engaged in a while, like what works best for you. So then we can strategically start setting up some of these other times and days. And that's kind of the process moving forward. But it's pretty well spelled out in terms of what a new member gets. And we've got a really solid, touch point slash, without, like I had said, over inundating people with a million different things to do right off the bat, but the best way we feel that we can get them engaged. And we do offer, on our membership, there is currently a 30-day free trial. So that gives people enough time to get in, poke around, our platform, see what's there, but truly to be able to give them the opportunity to plug into one of our get-togethers, which is, I really think it's different than what people have been exposed to, or a lot of people before, and like get them engaged in that, and a feeling that, hey, there is something to this whole thing. I want to stick with it.
For sure. I love it so much. It's just so pivotal as well. And I can just imagine people's lives are so frantic, right? It's just it's so challenging to kind of get that time and that schedule, like, and to be able to have as many as like seven additional would just be, it would be great value add. So in terms of like your go-to-market strategy, is it just a case of you obviously want to go strategically, but the way you're thinking about it is just like increasing your brand awareness, and you basically just need to get as much, I say traffic, but like people that know about Shareapy, people that want to leverage it to the website to then purchase a subscription, basically. That's kind of like getting as many people from the top of the funnel to the websites so that you can actually make an impact down the funnel.
Yeah, and then yeah, that's well said. So that, and then also, providing our current members, right, that have experienced it, in terms of whether it's testimonials, whether it's them reaching out to their networks, right, that know and trust them and say, hey, I've been involved in it, I'm benefiting from it, right? So it's on our end to provide them with those sort of tools and resources to be able to do so, right?
Yeah,
And that more is on the organic part of it, but I think we can need to do both, right? Just to create awareness, because obviously that funnel, hence the reason why it's a funnel, is, we need to increase that top end to drive more
of
people
course.
into engagement by signing up and experiencing what we're doing.
For
So
sure. And for you, like this is a pretty personal journey, right? So how's it because it must be insane waking up every day knowing that you're making an impact on other people's lives. Like, what's the journey been like for you as a founder?
since we've built something based on honesty, transparency, empathy, all the above, right? Um, Very challenging,
Mm.
and I say this in a ways, but it's it's incredible. Like there's a lot of learning, there's a lot of things that, yes, I'm in a different industry environment than I was the previous 25 years, but a lot I can lean on, right? Like I ran big teams of salespeople. I understand that I'm not the best at everything, to ask people for help. I understand that you need to bring in good people to scale any sort of business, right? Whether it's a mortgage business, a sales business, or whether it's an entity like Shareapy. So challenging in the most part, but what I've done is I've, tried to do as much as I can to all along the way, the last 5, 6 years, is just educate myself that what not only in terms of reading other founders' books, but talking with other people that have scaled companies, and most recently, I'm on a good have a pretty good schedule of talking with current founders that are in the midst of founding something that is relative to the health and wellness space, and just understanding their journeys. So it's actually like our mini entrepreneur, startup, CEO support group, which there's a lot out there, right? But it's been very helpful to me, and bringing on members and having people that I've met in certain locations or at certain times the last year or two that really understand not only what we're doing and how it can really impact, a lot of people out there, but they also understand the scalability of it, right? The ability of us to build something that can increase all of our capacity to be of service to others.
Honestly, it's so amazing what you're doing. Like, honestly, I just think it's great, especially like the integration with sport, military, all these things are just so important. So, before we wrap, because this has been super inspiring, do you have any kind of like key lessons learned, key takeaways based on scaling or building this business, so to speak, that you can share with our listeners that you think would be of value? Anything that's like top of mind?
Well, I hope this answers that question. I think, there's not, in terms of what we're doing, and I've heard it early on in this journey, whether it's from friends of ours that run VCs, whether it's friends of ours that have run businesses, is that no matter, like, we're in the mental health and wellness space, overall health and wellness space, right? And there's not, yes, there'll be people that'll debate that, you know, like the need for what we're doing, but there's not a lot of people that wouldn't acknowledge the need for what we're doing, right? So we know that there's a need to have resources for people out there on their journey, right? And but it's frustrating in terms of, or for me, it's been frustrating at times not to, you know, I've got to take a different look at it at times. It's like, how do people not get this? How can people not understand the need for what we're doing? Right. I
100%.
understand people are busy. I understand people, you know, whether it's Shareapy or whether it's other things that can help you as a person in your just process life, that people need to not only um understand more what we're doing, but also understand that, you know, some things out there don't take a lot of time, don't cost a lot of money that can really benefit it. So I think a more direct answer to that is that, you know, I've got to take that frustration out of my head and say, hey, it's just going to be like that. So keep pounding the pavement, keep having discussions, keep refining your message, keep being in touch with the right people. Because yeah, this was my quote unquote idea, right? And along the way,
Mm.
we've had several people involved that have helped me immensely in terms of getting us to where we are now. But kind of taking that personal, like, I can't believe somebody doesn't see this. I can't believe somebody doesn't want to be part of this. I can't believe somebody wouldn't want to invest in us and just say, hey, that's from all indication, talking with other, you know, founders that have had tremendous amount of success, some have that have failed, and anywhere in between. It's just, it's a long road, right? And
100%.
yeah, and since it's something that, yes, I'm super passionate about and helps me daily, being involved in helps me personally, helps me mentally, helps me just
Yeah.
spiritually. It's just something that it's a long winding road. Some are shorter than others, but you know, I'm in full belief that this is what I, you know, have been left here on earth to do, is to, you know, provide people a space that can help them on their journeys.
Oh my God, I love it so much. Awesome. What a story. That does wrap up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. I want to thank Scott for sharing his incredible journey and insights with us today. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also find more resources and insights at closers.io, where we're dedicated to helping businesses accelerate their sales through world-class marketing systems. We look forward to seeing you in the next one.